All right, let's talk about the Los Angeles Chargers. It's been a good offseason for Los Angeles. I think we can all agree on that. It wasn't as impactful, of course, as last offseason, but nothing will compare with bringing in Harbaugh, Ortiz, drafting Alton McConkey. And the Chargers have had a decent offseason in their own right, of course. But there's been one move that's been heavily criticized when the deal was made. But now that the numbers have come out in the situation, the reality has just been, for lack of a better word, revealed to everyone. The Chargers have been unfairly criticized here, and it looks like actually a pretty good deal. We'll get into this move in just 1 second, but first, I'm Nick, that's Andrew, and this is Saturday Morning Inspection. All right, the Chargers were widely panned for this move they made about a week or so ago at this point. Very, very, very heavily criticized from fans to people in the media. Let's refresh everyone's memory and then we'll get into the details that have recently come out. So let's pull up the tweet here. This is according to the official NFL site because it's just the most obvious one. Chargers and quarterback Trey Lance have agreed to terms on a 1-year contract worth up to 6.2 million bucks. That's courtesy of Mike Garofalo, who's a really good reporter. All right, so when a lot of people saw this report, a lot of people freaked out. Pretty much everyone is like, this was a dumb deal. Up to $6.2 million for Trey Lance. Are you absolutely kidding me? And look, there was reason to be very concerned about this. But one of the things that can happen anytime you get news like this or reports like this, insiders like Garofalo, nothing against him, they get data from agents, right? They get the news from agents and they say, oh, the agent for Trey Lance said, I got him a deal for 6.2 million bucks. And so that's what Garofalo reports. But then the contract actually gets signed and the details actually get leaked. And what do you know? It turns out the initial report was a little bit, for lack of a better word, fake news. Let's go ahead and pull this up. This is according to Spot Track, and you can see here that this is Trey Lance's numbers, contract numbers for 2025, 1-year deal. Base salary, you can see his signing, his roster bonus, his incentives, and then his cap hit on the far right is 2.045 million bucks. Now, look, I thought I did pretty well in math in high school and college. Maybe other people did a little bit worse, but I think anyone else could look at these numbers and say, all right, 2.045 is less than 6. So obviously the initial report was 100% undeniable fake news in terms of the dollar numbers. Now, look, that's going to happen. The agent's trying to hype up himself and his client. That's just how it works in today's NFL with insiders breaking information. Nothing against Mike Garofalo. That's just what has to be done. They're relying on the agents to give them good data. But that's why it's really important to kind of wait. And so when you freak out about a deal, let's see the details. Let's see what actually comes out. A $6 million deal is a massive overpayment for Trey Lance. 2 million bucks is actually a little bit of a discount because if you look at the numbers, the average backup salary in the NFL, not on a rookie deal, is about 4 to 5 million bucks. So you look at Trey Lance, a guy who started games in the NFL, a guy who's got a lot of good tool sets, a lot of flaws, but a guy who has started and played games in the National Football League and won games as a starter, right? That's certainly valuable. You're actually getting him at a 50% discount when it comes to the average veteran quarterback. So this was actually, despite being a stupid move by the Chargers, like people criticize them for being, it actually was a pretty solid move by LA. Miles, I'm curious what your thoughts are on all of this. But first, Chargers fans in the comment section below, now that you've seen the data, now that you've seen that the initial reporting was false, or at least I'll say maybe a little, the details had not been released. I'll just say it like that, not to criticize the reporting. We know the details, we know the numbers. How would you grade this deal by the Chargers? Do you still hate it? Give it an F? Do you like, nah, okay, it seems fair now, give it a C? Do you really like it? Do you see some potential maybe for Trey Lance as a backup, of course, in certain situations? Give it an A. Give us your new grade for this Chargers acquisition in the comment section below. But Mize, I will throw it over to you now. What are your thoughts now that we've seen the details on the Trey Lance move for the Chargers?
I think it is the Chargers way of just their strategy, always looking to upgrade this team and just make it as good as possible. You're never going to upgrade the quarterback position. I don't think anyone's really beating out Justin Herbert anytime soon. So what's the next best thing? If you can find a good backup quarterback option for a cheap deal, and this is exactly what they did. This is a fantastic move for the Chargers, and I think bringing in a guy like Trey Lance, really smart thing for them to do here. Like they said earlier on, when people don't have the actual contract breakdown, because the contract, there's a lot of numbers in there, but there's only certain numbers that actually mean things. Base salary and guaranteed stuff, mix that together. That's what really matters, and for it to be right around just above $2 million, that's a fantastic salary for a backup quarterback, as you alluded to. $4 or $5 million on average for backups. 2 million, that's a less than half of what most backup quarterbacks are getting paid. I think that is a really good situation here because when you look at Trey Lance, this is a guy who I don't know if he's ever really gotten a fair shake at the quarterback position. Maybe he doesn't deserve one, but as a backup quarterback, he's very interesting because what do we know about Trey Lance? He's athletic. He has the ability to make plays with his legs. He's a gunslinger. He has always had a strong arm, good physical gifts. Maybe he's just not putting the game together the way that people want him to. Maybe he can't put the game together the way that people want him to. But when he comes in as a backup, and usually when a backup comes into the game, the system that you're running is much dumbed down. This is a good system for him to be in. That Greg Roman, Jim Harbaugh system would be perfect for a mobile, athletic quarterback who can, be behind an offense, a great offensive line. Now you have a lot of good stars there. I think Ortiz has done a good job coming from the Baltimore Ravens that ran this Roman system before, knowing, hey, we need a guy back there that can be a little bit exciting, build the wild card, but still he's going to be safe because we've got this run heavy, Greg Roman scheme, a lot of great blocking tight ends, a lot of good run concepts for this team. Something Jim Harbaugh's liked in the past as well. We're not going to ask him to throw it 25, 30, 40, 50 times a game. We're going to have him stay back there, be safe, and just be, a little bit of a wild card, but also just hand the ball off to our new running back, Najee Harris, and let them do their work. So I think this is a good move. The deal, undoubtedly, a fair deal, even a bit of a bargain for the Chargers here. The fit, I think Trey Lance is an interesting fit for this team. I think, the scheme that they run, if God forbid he had to go into the game, maybe, Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson situation, he had to go to the bathroom during the middle of a game and they had to put Trey Lance for a few plays. I think he can handle this system much better than the San Francisco 49ers system. That system's pretty complex. There's a lot going on with the 49ers Shanahan system, maybe a little bit too advanced for Trey Lance. So I think there's a lot going on here, but I think when you break it down, you look at the numbers, if you look at what Trey Lance is bringing as a backup and you look at the system the Chargers are running offensively, everything seems to fit well. Everything seems to, be a good fit together as far as player to system, system to player, and the dollars are making sense. This is an upgrade for the Chargers, and that's what they're trying to do. Make incremental upgrades. All right, let's look at the team. We think we have our starters outside of what we're going to do in the draft. Let's look at our depth. How can we make our depth just a little bit better? Is there any deals out there that we can make for the depth of this team? They do it at the backup quarterback position. Again, another really smart move by the Chargers here just to get a little bit better before the season.
Yeah, it is a good move, and I think you look at Ortiz pulling from his Baltimore Ravens experience. People forget that the Ravens, not long ago, Lamar Jackson missed significant time, and their backup quarterback, Tyler Snoop Huntley, led them to the postseason. And frankly, they outplayed the Bengals in Cincinnati in that playoff game, that wild card game, until, of course, a fumble turned that game completely around. They should have beaten Cincinnati. Cincinnati went on, of course, to make a deep playoff run. So when you look at what Ortiz has seen in the past, says, listen, we just need a quarterback, a backup quarterback that stylistically matches what we can do offense. He's going to be nowhere near the caliber of Herbert, of course, but we need a guy who, if we need to put in there, can allow us to execute at a level and make plays. And I've made this point about backup quarterbacks in the past, and nothing against guys like Taylor Heineke, who's also a backup currently with the Chargers as well. Is a lot of people, when they look at the backup, they sit there and say, well, I just want a guy who can take the snap and read the defense and hit the check down and just maybe convert a few third downs. And there's nothing wrong with that if he has to go in and play like a quarter or a possession. But if you do that over the course of games and over the course of stretches of football, long series stretches, your offense isn't designed to do that. Your offense, depending on who your team is, has, oh, we're going to be an aggressive down the field. We're going to be play action. We're going to do all these different things. And if your quarterback is physically limited to the point where he can't do those things, you've basically built a roster. And now suddenly you throw in your quarterback because he's the backup. He can't do those things. And your roster completely falls apart. Your strategy collapses, right? We see this when teams lose their starter and then suddenly they go from a good team to a terrible team. Why? Because they built their entire roster around this quarterback's attributes, and the backup doesn't even have the same attributes, not even just lesser, not even the same, not even the same zip code. Trey Lance, for lack of a better description, is sort of a 20% Justin Herbert, right? And so if things go bad and you need a quarterback to play multiple games, I'd rather have Trey Lance and Taylor Heineke because I know that if I'm the Chargers, I can run this Roman offense with Lance a whole lot more effectively than I can with Taylor Heineke. And I think that's what the Chargers are looking at here. They're sitting there and saying, okay, look, if Herbert's out for a play, Heineke's our guy. But if we need to go multiple games and we're trying to hold on to our playoff position, which we know the Chargers are going to be in playoff contention once again, probably contention near the top of the division as the Chiefs slowly decline, I think they're going to want to have a guy that they could run their offensive in with Justin Herbert if he's out for an extended period. And Trey Lance is the guy to do just that. And again, the dollars make sense. Avoid the headlines. It's one of those things we talk about it all the time. When deals get released, it's so crazy, right? You'll get a player gets signed to a 3-year, $100 million deal, something like that. People are like, what? They paid too much money. And then you look into the numbers and you realize, oh, it's a 3-year, $100 million deal in terms of the announcement, but year one is 10 million, year two is 20 million, and year three is 70 million, making up numbers here, but none of the 70 million is guaranteed. And once you can sit there and say, oh, they're never going to pay that. They'll either cut them or restructure or do whatever at the end of the second year. It's really a 2-year, $30 million deal. But the agent just wanted the attention and the headline of the 3-year, 100 million, right? That's just the world we live in. You got to stay calm with these announcements, wait for the details to come out. The Garofalo tweet, nothing against Garofalo, the reporting from him, it was just because that's what was coming from the agent of Trey Lance, that $6 million number, not even close to reality. In fact, it was, of course, fake news. The Chargers got a great value here. People are forgetting that, but now that we've got the numbers, it's clearly a good deal and part of a really sound strategy by Ortiz and Elliott.